the workplace tends to be a place where we come out of the broom closet last, or one of the last times. So how can you bring magic into your work and your workplace if you're not out of the closet? Stay tuned and I'll give you some tips. Hey guys, Helen Hartsmith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope you're having a good day. I am boop boop to poo. So, if you have been around the channel much lately, then you'll know that I am just over a year into a new job. And so I'm not really out of the broom closet just yet. There's a few people that know that I'm a witch and things of that nature, but not everybody does. And I tend to be pretty open about my spiritual path and, what I do and things like that. But this seems like a much more conservative crowd of people and company, and so I'm just kind of letting them get to know me and let my work kind of speak for itself. And I'm not hiding it in any way, shape, or form, because I'm still wearing the pentacles and I'm still wearing the rings and all that kind of stuff. And there are a few things that folks know that I'm into crystals. So I'm not completely out. I'm not completely lying. I'm not hiding it. If someone were to ask me, I'd be honest with them, but I'm not necessarily shouting it from the rooftops either. So I got to thinking actually about this at work the other day and was like, what am I doing, and what are some other tips that can be given for those who aren't out of the broom closet at work? And I think some of these could even work in other areas too. Maybe family functions where people don't know that you're Wiccan or pagan or what have you. Here's some suggestions. So let's start off with probably what will end up being one of the biggest forms of magic that you'll practice in an area where you can't do a full-blown circle or, words of power and drawing down in the whole 9 yards. And that's energy magic. We don't need any tools but our very own minds in order to perform energy work. By energy work, I'm talking about the pulling of energy either from our connection to the divine or our connection to the lower world, or both. You pull that energy for a specific intent and you send it out. You can do this for healing. You can do this for support. I end up doing this a lot just in general. If someone needs healing, or if I receive word that a family friend or family member is sick, then I will send healing for that person. I'll send support for their family. I will send clear thoughts for their caregivers. That kind of magic is something that you can do quietly that no one will ever be the wiser of. And so that's kind of like your first line of defense. Okay. So aside from that, what are some things you can do? I try to covertly pull a tarot card. So I like to pull a tarot card every day just to give me some guidance for what to expect for that day. And because of my schedule, I get up so early, I start work so early. So I normally don't have time to pull a card until I'm at work already. And so I have a small deck that I take with me. It goes back and forth in my lunch bag. It's with me whenever. Now, Some days I don't get to pull one, and that's okay. But it's something that I try to do. I try to do it maybe when I'm on my break or when things are quiet. I do have my own office where I can close the door, but I also have an office that shares like a common area with 3 other people, and there's lots of people going in and out. And I have a window that's onto the floor of the place where I work. So even though I can shut my door, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm guaranteed any privacy. So instead of, if you're not comfortable doing tarot, something that I purchased recently, I had seen that there were affirmation decks out there that people were producing those. And I was like, that is so cool. First of all, I love affirmation work, and it's cool because that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily have to have a religious tone to it. It's in general just affirmations about, positive thinking. And so I went on to Amazon and I found a set, and the set ended up being not exactly what it was advertised to be, because it was supposed to be 60 cards that had affirmations on both sides. So it gave you 120 affirmations. And I thought that was like really cool. What I ended up getting ended up being 2 sets of 60 cards that were the same affirmations. That's okay. So I got 60 instead of the 120. Okay, fine. I gave the other set to the roomie. She was interested in them. And so she's been pulling cards for affirmations for herself. And it was a win-win. So I took those to work, and I have been pulling one a day and sharing that with coworkers. And I work with primarily, I interact with men. There's only a few women that I work with, but the guys are actually kind of getting into it. And one of my coworkers actually suggested that I take that affirmation and email it out to some of the other administrative staff that we all work with. And so I thought that was kind of a cool idea. So that's like actually bringing my witchy practices into work. And it was totally someone else's suggestion. So I love that. If you're interested, I will try to remember to put a link for the deck that I bought. But I mean, be fair, know that it might be 2 different sets, but there were numerous sets out there. I was just looking for something that was kind of adult and kind of not necessarily Wiccan or pagan. So there's lots of stuff out there. I just did a Google search, or I didn't do a Google search. I went on to Amazon. So there you have it. The next suggestion I have is drawing sigils. So sigils and symbols are things that you can do that a lot of times people will draw them or paint them or what have you, but you can draw a sigil with the tip of your finger, and it will have just as much intent as if you painted it or tattooed it or what have you. And so you could do symbols for communication, symbols for focus, symbols for harmonious workplace, things like that. And you can draw that on things like doors, your calendar. Like if you keep a physical calendar of your appointments and things like that, you could do a money sigil onto something like that to draw money to you if you're, in need of more business or something along those lines. You can draw it on your computer to help it to work better. You can, anything. So, you can use sigils, and nobody, like if you might need to be a little more covert than say the energy magic, but I mean, you can do that quickly and there's no physical proof and, whatever. So drawing sigils, symbols, things like that. That's good stuff. Now, Some people might be able to actually burn candles. At my previous job, there was a point where I was having serious issues with my boss. And I ended up doing a full-blown spell with a candle and a jar of stuff and everything else that was on my desk. And I was able, in that instance, I was able to burn a candle. And nobody questioned it. Well, the one person that like really knew about it was someone that knew they knew what the intent was. And so some places you might be able to get away with that. And that's okay. Cool. More power to you. But there are alternatives out there now that we can do things with a bit of a twist that might involve things with scents. So, for instance, there are essential oil diffusers that are good for your general environment because of the aromatherapy nature of it, but you could definitely work with specific scents for specific intent. Or so my new job, there's too many chemicals and such in the facility. So an open flame, not a good idea. So what I actually did recently was I bought a wax warmer. And so these devices are all over it. You plug it in and there's a light, and you put a little container over the light and these beautifully scented wax tarts that the light will melt the tarts and it will let off the scent, and you can then, put that out with intention of focus or prosperity or what have you. You have to kind of coordinate your scent with your purpose, but these wax tarts come in colors. So you could use that color too, like something that's green for money magic or prosperity or luck or something like that. If you have, a job where it's fast paced and you need some calming influence, then maybe you want to pick a nice scent that's calming, that's maybe a light blue in color, something along those lines. There's a lot of diversity that you can have with your magic with something like that. And then a third thing that you could try is folks will do the big jar candles. So you want a candle in a glass jar, and you put it on a coffee warmer. So it's this little plate that you turn on, and you would put your coffee cup on it to keep your coffee warm. But if you put a jar candle on it and have the lid off, then it will disperse the scent that way. So you could try one of those too. And then there's that color and scent again that, you can put out into your area for magical purposes. So those, I'm super enjoying. Now I haven't used my wax warmer for any magical purposes just yet, but I totally could. So if I do, I'll report back. Another idea, and again, this might be taking a little step towards, declaring yourself, but you could do some kind of statuary or iconography, like a picture in a frame of a deity or spirit animal that you are working with. Now, for instance, I am a kind of person who I love wolves. I love wildlife. I work with a lot of different animal spirits. So I might have a framed picture of a wolf on my desk. I actually do have a small, I'm talking like about a 4-inch tall, I almost said 4 foot, sorry, 4-inch tall, statue of Odin Father that is on my desk. I've had a small Lord Ganesha that I had at my previous job. Now the Odin Father, it's kind of subtle, and where I keep it is kind of subtle. And I haven't taken Lord Ganesha to work, and he'd be a great deity to work with for work because he's a remover of obstacles. I haven't taken him to work because that statue is like gold and it's like pretty in your face. And so there's nothing subtle there. And so I haven't taken him in yet. But you could totally get away with some subtler instances. So, you could try that. Let's see what else is on my list. Calendars. Calendars kind of fall into that framed picture situation where you could do an animal calendar. Like I could do a wolf calendar, things like that. I tend to like to have a wall calendar on the wall so that I can see and project where I'm at with my dates and such. So, I mean, calendars have kind of become a little passe with our electronic devices, but I like to have one on the wall. And I mean, you could even take that and put pictures of other things over it. Like if you can't find a crystal calendar that you like, then maybe you just print a picture and stick it on an existing one. I mean, do whatever works for you. You do you, boo. That's the basic thing here. Wallpaper on your devices, like your computer, your phone, your tablet. You can use those wallpaper areas as a vision board. Like if there's a goal that you're working towards, like a trip, maybe you put a picture on your wallpaper that shows where you want to go. Do you want to go to Greece? Do you want to go to Egypt? Do you want to go to South America? Then you can put pictures that help you remember and help you with this, I'm working so that I can save money so that I can make it to this destination. You can that's great magic right there. Another thing you can do is, I'm going to kind of tie a couple of things together because it all kind of works. So there's I had this idea of mini altars. So any surface that this is kind of how I look at altar work. Any surface that you want to put intention magically, energetically towards, it becomes an altar of sorts. So as I mentioned, I have a window in my office. On that window are pictures of family and friends, and that is where my Odin Father statue resides. So in a sense, that is an altar of sorts, and I can put things there. I could leave offerings if I wanted. Like if I wanted to leave Odin Father an M&M or a chip or something along those lines, then I could do that, and it's kind of subtle, okay? Now, if that's too much for you at your job, something else you could try is there are lots of decorative boxes out on the market that you can buy. I mean, you can go to Joann's any season of the year and find these cute little boxes that are either like seasonal or there's floweries or whatever, but they're pretty and they're made for organization and for storing things. You could totally get something like that and put it on your desk, and inside is a mini altar where you put whatever the heck you want to, and you close that lid and you're the only one that knows what's in there. Because theoretically, people are going to respect your area enough that they're not going to get into a box like that. If you're in an environment where that is not the case, then you're probably not in a great job. Just kind of saying. But what you can do is you can put crystals, you can put offerings, you can put things like that in a hideable altar and close the lid. Now, here's where I started my outing myself. I absolutely had crystals on my desk from day one. People knew that I was into crystals from the day I started there. So of course, crystals are a great way to bring magic and to do magic in your workplace. And I actually went through and I thought about some specific work crystals, but so you can put them on your desk, and those are like for just general type things or whatever, but you can also wear jewelry. There was a time when I first started that I wasn't wearing like my rings and things like that, and I've slowly started adding them in. So I usually have my labradorite ring. This is a smoky quartz, and I've got my moonstone. I wear those daily. I have piercings that have jet, moonstone. There's 2 moonstones and a lapis. So that's always with me. And those are specifically designed for the properties that they bring. But I did do some research, and I've got examples to kind of show you of most of I found 5 stones that I wanted to suggest that were good for workplace magic, good intentions. So the first one, and there's one that on my list that I will bring up, I know I've got an example, but I don't have one handy. But let's start with this one. So this is Dalmatian jasper. Can you see where it got its name? Right? Dalmatian. So Dalmatian jasper is good for harmony in the workplace. And when I learned that, like, I started having Dalmatian jasper at work all the time, because harmony in the workplace, that can be something that's hard to achieve, and any help that you can do for that, that's going to be amazing. The next one on my list is peach aventurine. So peach aventurine is really good for artists and for musicians, because anyone who's in a creative field. So this will help bring creativity to you, and if you use it in your workplace, then you're just heightening that magic. Okay. The next one on my list is, I'm going to put this down. Boy, I can't get my fingers to work today. So here we have some brachiated or poppy jasper. So this is it's a red jasper. You can probably see the red in there, but brachiated jasper tends to have like other stuff besides just red jasper. And it will also be known as poppy jasper. It's a beautiful, beautiful red color. Usually the red that's in it, it's very vibrant. But this is good for if you're feeling overwhelmed at work. It will help release those feelings of being overwhelmed. So I thought that was exceptionally helpful. Another one is mukaite, and unfortunately I don't have any big pieces of mukaite, but they're such pretty colors. I've been kind of wanting to get like a large raw piece for just for putting outside, but mukaite is good for teachers. And it's good for the teachers specifically, but for those working with children. So if you work in a daycare, might be nice to have mukaite. Maybe you wear a ring or have earrings or something like that. It helps you deal with children. And so I thought that was kind of a nice idea to add to this video. Lastly, and this is the one that I couldn't really find it's not lastly because I just thought of another one. Petrified wood is good for preventing work stress. So I think even at the best of times, any of us can have work stress. So petrified wood would be a good thing to help alleviate that. And then the one that I thought about that I don't know why I didn't put it on the list to begin with, but carnelian is good for focus. And I use that a lot for focus and for bringing energy. So if I'm feeling like I'm lagging, I've got a piece of carnelian that's it's just a small one that's on my desk. And I actually have one of those water bottles that I forgot about this too. Dude, how did this not make the list? I have one of those water bottles where you can put, the bottom of it screws off and it's filled with carnelian small tubbled stones. So you put the water in the top and you let the carnelian like infuse the water. I drink a lot of water from that bottle. So that's another way to kind of bring some magic into your workplace too. So those are my suggestions, and that's just a kind of list that I came up with kind of quickly. So I am open to hearing any other suggestions that those of you out there might have for workplace magic. So if you've got a suggestion, put it in the comments. I'm not focused right now because I don't have carnelian. See? If you enjoyed this video or learned something from it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, and the bell notifications will let you know when I post a new video. So that might be something helpful too. There will be links in the description box for social media, things like that. Check all that out. And that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for taking the time to walk the path for a while with me. Until next time, blessed be.